All right, we're back. Third. Not only is it the third episode today, but part three of sitting here with the one and only Mr. Rik Fox for an amazing story, career, and tales that should be written into a book. You should be writing this stuff into a book. I hope you are. Well, but I would write it on a computer. Writing everything out by pen might take you a little longer. Right? One finger at a time.
Yeah, that's me. Every once in a while, I'll get a little one of those in there.
Oh, too funny. So Rik, last week we got we had to put a halt to the interview right when we were starting to get some juicy stuff about your time in Steeler. It was right when it was entering the world of Ingve, and you were talking about how you guys had talked with him, and he seemed like a really nice guy, and he was really excited. He wanted to come over and play with you guys, and then he got here, and you picked him up from the airport, and you can just tell things started to change, especially once you guys started rehearsing.
Yeah. I don't remember if he actually got a chance to hear the Steeler album, or the album wasn't out yet. I mean, any kind of the Steeler material via on cassette tape back then. I don't know if he heard any of it yet, if Marnie sent anything to him. But he was real gung-ho over the phone and wanted to, get over here and be part of what we were doing and see how that worked out. And then we went to the airport to LAX to pick him up almost a year to the day when I first arrived in LAX in California. And the guy that came down the ramp there into the terminal didn't seem like the same guy. It was kind of like, the hair flip thing, and the Viking has arrived, and he's wearing all of this occult type jewelry and pentagrams. And I went through that in high school too, and the whole pentagram thing. He said, shock
Right.
freak them out, whatever. Maybe that's what he was trying to do. I don't know, but we picked him up and brought him back to what we were talking about last time, was the Steeler Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know, it's an inside kind of a joke, because it was anything but a mansion. Just 3 or 4, gutted storefronts infested with roaches, and nothing rock starish whatsoever. This was not like when you walk into the mansion in Rockstar, when Mark Wahlberg walks in and sees the mansion, it's nothing like that. It's just the opposite. It would have been like the basement across the street or something. So it was a culture shock thing from Malmsteen. He walks in and it's just like standing there taking this all in, and he had the room over where the kitchen is. As you go in, there's a main room, a common area, and then you go off to the left, and it goes into another room. It's just like support walls and a doorway, and kind of and peeling paint and things like that. And that was the kitchen area, and it was a waterbed that one of the former members, I guess, left there, and that was where Ingve slept. And it wasn't like an enclosed kitchen; it was like one big room, but the waterbed was right there, and it was a various debris of things that were stored in there or around the bed area, and that's where he slept. And
how was his attitude like once he saw the quote unquote mansion?
Like
Did he know what he was? Did he know what he was getting
himself
into?
It was a culture shock. He was not expecting that. He was expecting, some modern, decent semblance of a clean domicile. I really don't know what he was expecting, but that's what he got. It was very Spartan. There was no luxuries there. If you want to call it a luxury, I think the only thing is our stage manager, lighting director, Mark Workman, had a little, I'd say it's about maybe 18 inches by 12 inches, was a little portable television. It was a little screen would pop up
Okay.
out of the top, and it could play VHS tapes.
Hmm.
So he would tape MTV. This is at the height of Def Leppard's Pyromania had just come out.
Okay.
And it was getting rotation like 4 times an hour, maybe more. But whatever was on MTV, Mark would record for just hours. He just let the tape run for hours. Then he'd come down, he'd bring it to us, and we'd put it on. Because that's all we had to watch. We didn't, as far as like anything to watch, like TV or anything, was this little portable TV, pop-up TV screen. And the screen was about maybe 3 or 4 inches by 3 or 4 inches. So the whole band and the road crew would all have to gather around like this, to kind of watch this little screen like that. And, and we'd watch whatever was on MTV like that. And that was pretty much it. So that was a luxury, if you want to call it that.
That was also, I mean, I guess it was really around the same time too for Quiet Riot was breaking through too at that point.
A few months after that. That was like April, May.
Did you have any relationship with Kevin or the guys?
Yeah, well, when I first arrived in Los Angeles, when Blackie took me to the Troubadour,
you met Kevin.
My second night there, Kevin DeBro was standing in the vestibule of the Troubadour, and I kind of introduced myself, or Blackie introduced me to him, or whatever, and then Kevin was the first person to give me the warnings about Los Angeles, because I said I just got in from New York, and he said it's completely different than New York, and everybody wants to be your friend, and then they'll stab you in the back. They don't give a crap about you, and there's always somebody behind you that wants your job,
right?
Which is essentially the story of the entertainment industry, whether you're in the cast or on the crew. If you're not fitting up to somebody's expectations, there's always somebody waiting in the wings to take your position.
Absolutely.
And that was the whole revolving door scenario with the bands in LA. So Kevin was one of the first people to warn me about that. And of course, when it came to May, we had just finished the Steeler album, and we got an opportunity to open and support Quiet Riot at Perkins Palace.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Beginning of May. And that was great. I mean, Mental Health had just broken into the top, into number 1 in Billboard.
Right.
So they were riding high on that. And Perkins Palace was packed. It was probably doubled beyond capacity.
Wow.
So we were fortunate to get that gig, and downstairs in the basement is where the dressing rooms were, and Steelers was here, and you go down the hallway to a little jog, and there's Quiet Riot's dressing room. And Ron didn't know that I had already, a friendly relationship with the guys in the band. And I'm from New York. What do I know? I just aimlessly, I walked down the hallway to say hi. I didn't know if there was any kinds of protocols where the opener is not supposed to mingle with the headliner. All this drama, that people have. And I went over and I said, I stuck my head in the door, I waved, hi, Kevin, and like that. And he turned around, he goes, hey, Rick, and like that. He goes, look, I remember when you first got here, the first night you were here. Wow. And he goes, now you're on the bill with us. Isn't that great? And Rudy Sarzo was nice. He came over and congratulated me, and Frankie as well. And Frankie was from Queens, and I was from Brooklyn, right near Queens. So the only person I didn't really know that well was Carlos. But the other 3 guys were really nice like that. And I hear my name being called down the hallway, and I look down, and Ron's going like, "Come here. You're not supposed to be over there." And I'm like, what? What's the problem? And the Quiet Riot, Kevin, they look at it and go, hey, it's cool. We're friends. And Ron's like, he didn't want to think like the openers were bugging the headliners,
Yeah.
So it was great. It was a great night for everybody, and we had a blast opening for Quiet Riot. Perkins was packed like that, and the night went like most of the shows. The night goes by so fast, you really don't have a chance to process it. Debrief yourself, like what just happened, like that. So it was a blast. So yeah, I was friends with the Quiet Riot guys.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So going back to the whole the mansion in Yngwie, yeah.
Yeah. So there was an episode one night early on where we're rehearsing the songs, and I'm in my stage right position. Ron's in his center, and Yngwie would be on stage left. Mark's behind us on the drum riser, Mark Edwards. And we're going through the songs, and then we stop at one point, and Malmsteen looks at Ron and goes, "Hey, man, can you do something different with these songs to make them more interesting? Because they're really quite fucking boring." Just like that. No filter between here and here, between the head and the mouth. He just speaks the way it comes out, whatever is on his mind, impulsively like that. And it was like just dead quiet in the rehearsal room. And I look up at the drum riser at Mark. Mark's looking at the ceiling. And then finally he looks at me. Mark looks at me. I look at Mark, and it's like, I'm thinking, did new guy just say what we thought he said? He just insulted the boss's songs, And Ron did what we call a slow burn. Edgar Kennedy was the king in the old Little Rascals era, where you just like this and you turn beet red. Ron did the quickest slow burn I ever saw. And he goes, as I remembered, he goes, all right, fine. Like that. And the next day, or like the day after, we started auditioning other guitar players while Yngwie was living there with us. So,
did Yngwie know you guys were doing that?
Yeah, he was there in the building with us. There's no place to get away from that. You see guitar players come in, they go into the rehearsal room, plug in, and start playing. You can hear anything through all the walls.
Right. So he didn't say nothing.
What could you say? What could I couldn't say anything. I'm happy to have my position. It's the basic. But understandably, Ron was pretty furious. Because we had gone. Ron and Mark and I had already rehearsed these songs. Like I said, it was so tight. You couldn't get a piece of paper in between us.
Right.
Mark and I were so in the pocket, you wouldn't know your change was gone, as I like to say. But Malmsteen was just like, what could he do? He's there. He's stuck in America now. He's stuck at our place, and we're auditioning other guitar players like right there in front of him. He never took his guitar off while he was awake. It was always slung on him, and he was always just, just not plugged in, just noodling away like that. And this went on for a few days, 3-4 days, maybe, I don't know, just auditioning guitar players, several guys a day, and none of them were hitting the mark. They were. I don't even remember if they were close, but you're putting a guy on the spot. Just clear out of the blue. Ask him,
right.
What would you play here? What would you play there? And play it like that. So after a few days of this, Malmsteen finally came over to Ron and said, "All right, we'll do it. Let's do this. I'll play the game. Let's do this. You don't have to audition guys anymore. I'll do this." Wow. So whatever it was, it worked, and we got down to business, and we rehearsed our asses off. Mark and I would practice first for a couple of hours, just bass and drums, just a rhythm section. We'd take a break, maybe have some top ramen cooked by the crew. Yeah. And then we'd all go in as a band after that and take a break after that. And then rehearse as a band, do the set 3, 4 to 5 times, until we were like tired to go to, time to go to sleep.
Right.
And like that. So late at night. And it would get really hot in the room. There was no ventilation. It was in the daytime. Sometimes we'd open the side door off to my side on stage right. There was a little door there. We could open that and get a little cross breeze. Right. But we didn't want to do it too often because, the whole neighborhood, it wasn't South Central, but, it was that kind of neighborhood, if you get my drift.
Sure.
We were the brightest guys in the neighborhood. And the neighborhood knew there was a rock band in there, so we didn't really want to expose.
Oh, damn. All right. Hopefully, Rik will get back on. Here he comes.
See you at us. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, so you don't want to expose the neighborhood to too much of what we have because it presents itself as a burglary target, which
Yeah, exactly.
had been attempted several times, and
Mm.
then they didn't expect to see a bunch of white guys with baseball bats coming out of every single door, and they would scatter literally like roaches. They'd just run down the neighborhood like that. So anyway, it was pretty hot in the rehearsal room like that. And that's what we did when we rehearsed. Geez, our first gig was March 11th at the Country Club, opening for Hughes Thrall.
Okay.
And Malmsteen arrived like in the first week of February, so we didn't really have any time to mess around.
So you guys had that show booked already?
No. While we were rehearsing, I don't remember how we got that gig. But in the process of just rehearsing through February, I forget who came in and told us that we got this gig opening for Quiet Riot. Now I have original copy of the newspaper ad.
Oh, really?
It's a Quiet Riot, right? But it's an opening was a group called the Bees, B-Z-Z-Z-Z-Z.
Yeah.
Out of the Midwest. They were out of Illinois, and the Bees were actually a morph from the Boys, Boyz, the Boys from Illinois.
Oh, okay.
And I saw them in New York. I was friends with those guys, when they came through in New York City.
That was
I'm still friends with Mike Tafoya, and Dirty Dan Buck, the singer, and those guys.
Wasn't Steve Riley in that band too, playing drums?
He was in that band, but when I saw them, he wasn't. They had a different drummer.
Okay.
The original drummer. But when they became the Bees, I think that's when Steve Riley came in. Because we discussed that when I first met Steve when he was playing with Keel. And that he played with the Bees when we had the same conversation I'm having with you now about the Boys transforming into the Bees when they kind of split up a little bit. And of course, Steve said he played with Steppenwolf, which was like one of my all-time favorite influential bands was Steppenwolf.
Wow.
So Steve and I bonded pretty quick, but he wasn't. Well, anyway, the Bees were on the bill. And for whatever reason, I think I asked Mike Tafoya what happened. I don't know what happened, but we got put on. I guess there was maybe something political. I don't know by the booking agency. I don't know. I didn't know enough to ask that many kind of questions.
Right.
I was still kind of like the new guy myself. I mean, I came into Steeler on December 28th of 1982 on my birthday. So, we rehearsed all through January, and then Malmsteen came the first week of February. So I'm still the new guy too, like that.
So, I mean, things were happening pretty quick. I mean, there was a lot of like nonstop hard work going on, rehearsals and all that stuff.
Yeah.
From the time you walked in.
After the March 11th debut show.
Okay.
With Malmsteen and myself as into that new lineup, what became known as the classic album lineup of Steeler.
Right.
We wowed LA. I mean, heads were like, they did like the French knight in Monty Python when he sees the wooden rabbit, the Trojan horse coming up the hill, and he goes, that's kind of the reaction we got out of LA. They were like, wait, this ain't the same Steeler we saw a few months ago, because there's like Malmsteen over there doing his thing, blazing away over there. It's me doing the rock star thing over on that side of the stage, dressed in the black leather look, and I was like, holy cow! And Ron was on top of his game. I mean, not that he isn't now, but you should have seen him then. I mean, Ron was like the what's the word I'm looking for? Quintessential frontman, where he command the stage, rock star all the way. It was what I saw of Ron being a rock star at the Roxy a few months before that. This was like Ron on steroids, because he had all this power on stage with us, like a fucking sledgehammer tank in people's faces.
Wow.
The crowd was going wild. Where we became one of the cornerstone heavy metal bands of the LA scene. So,
sure.
With Rat and Crew and like that. So and we did a lot of shows after that. The shows were coming in, maybe two each month, something like that. Did Country Club a few times. We did play with Black and Blue. We'd where else did we play? Troubadour. Of course, the line was going out the door, down the street, around the corner. So it was happening faster.
Wow. Now, how soon then do you guys start recording the album?
That was had to be April. Yeah, because May, the end of May, I think May 21st was Ingve and our last show with as Steeler at I must say not the Woodstock. There was another club right next door to the Woodstock in Orange County. It's on the tip of my tongue. The end of May was our last gig with together that lineup. So yeah, it had to be April.
Oh, really?
Varney wanted to hurry up and get us in the studio, get us down on vinyl.
So it was that quick that you guys were out then. I didn't realize that.
Stuff was moving fast. It was moving fast. Once the tank was built, it's like send them out into battle. Let's see what they can do.
Right.
To use that analogy. And then Varney said, let's get up here to Northern California, up there where his studio was, and up in Katati, and let's get this recorded. So we had to pack up everything that wasn't nailed down.
Wow.
Into the crew truck, because while we're gone, the place could have burned down from the neighborhood. Broke in and looking to rob stuff. So whatever wasn't nailed down, we put it in a truck, and they drove it up to Northern California, and there was a couple little, I guess, guest house type buildings on the property that had absolutely no insulation whatsoever. So at night it was like being in the Arctic.
Wow.
We all froze. It was like this little house that had makeshift bookshelves going all the way around on all the walls. And it must have had subscriptions to every magazine in the world, because it was like several years worth of magazines, this cinder blocks, like cinder block and a shelf, and a cinder block and a shelf, and so on. I don't know, about 5 feet high, going all the way around the inside perimeter of this little house. It had windows and a door, of course, like that. But it was like, I don't want to say like a little military building, but you see buildings like that in war movies, like prisoner of war camps or training grounds, and it was absolutely incredibly freezing cold. I must have slept under like 5 or 6 blankets, and I had a little electric heater next to the bed, like that, what I would call a makeshift bed. Everybody kind of picked a corner to bed down at. And we froze there. It was nice in the daytime, but at night it was absolutely freezing. And then we went to record, and Mark and I were in one building, and they ran all the lines down from the studio and like that. And then we tried to lay down the tracks, and they were having a problem with my basses. I had an Ibanez Explorer bass that they said, I don't know, the tuning just sounds weird. The tuning sounds weird. For some reason, they microscopically were picking up the inability for it to stay in tune. I don't know. And I had a new bass from Aria, because Aria hit up Malmsteen. They wanted to see if he'd endorse their product. Okay. They told me to their face, your pickups suck, like that. No couth, no manners. Not like, well, there's a problem here. He just says your pickups suck. Right to the we watched him take pickups apart and completely wind them, and rewound his own pickups and his guitars. He was that good at that. Anyway, so I had to go back in and record my bass tracks in the control room, and the Aria, we plugged the Aria straight into the board. It was an Explorer body. It's what they call a ZZB.
Yeah.
A blue sunburst bass.
I remember this.
Yeah. So, because when they gave Malmsteen the guitars, he looked at me, would you like something? I'm like, gee, that's nice. I thought you'd never ask. But, they gave me this bass, and we plugged it in the board. And, there's the little let me get the camera there. The little meter lights that go from green up into red.
Yeah.
Like that. And I'm playing. I got the pots wide open, and he's going, hit something. And I said, I am. And we couldn't even get any green lights. The pickups were not putting out anything, which would completely validate what Malmsteen was saying about the pickup sucking.
There you go.
At that point. I mean, I used the bass live, and it sounded okay, but in the studio, it wasn't cutting it. So I had to use a Fender Precision, nice old, it must have been a '60s model Precision, but the engineer had strings on it that were probably just as old,
Oh, okay.
and he refused to let us change them,
Huh.
even with the promise of putting his old strings back on. Nope. How about if we boil your string? Nope. He would not allow the removal of his old dead strings, no matter what. That was the way he liked them. So
Wow.
I had to play with these, absolutely dead bass strings on there. I wasn't really crazy about the tone, but I mean, at least the pickups put out. I plugged right into the board.
Hmm.
And then Ron and Mark sat across from me, and I sat there and I just went through the whole album just like that. Played one song after another, after another, after another. And so now we got the rhythm tracks done, and we did some rhythm guitar. We had that all done, but Malmsteen, meanwhile, couldn't do anything. He didn't have a work permit yet. I guess technically he wasn't allowed to record on the album until he had some kind of working papers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he just pretty much sat around, twiddled his thumbs, or not twiddled his thumbs, but I mean, he had the guitar on around his neck, like that. And there was nothing really for him to do. And then when we were done with all of that, we all drove back down to LA. And then Dee Dee Keel, who Ron was going out with at the time, really went through great efforts and cut through a lot of red tape with the State Department to get Malmsteen whatever he needed so we could finish this. So the heat was on for that. And then finally the paperwork came through. So Ron and Yngwie had to fly back up to San Francisco and ride up north. It's like 50 miles north of San Francisco, up in the wine country, which I think today is mostly burned away because of wildfires.
Oh, shit.
But let me see. Do I have I thought I had a sticker here with the name of the studio. It's on the album. And Ron and Yngwie had to finish the album. Ron did his vocals. He says he wasn't 100% happy with them, but is anybody ever happy with what they do? Every time you play it back, you go, no, I can do better. And you do that, you run it into the ground, and you know what? The first take was the best one.
Mm-hmm.
So guitar players are like that too. And Malmsteen did all his tracks, whatever rhythms and all his leads, all over that. And then they came back and the album was done, So I think the first thing we actually got a copy of on tape for us was the intro theme, Abduction, which I wrote.
Okay.
And so this way, when we go to do a gig, we can pop that in the soundboard and we have some kind of presentation, a fanfare to bring us to the stage. And I got that as an inspiration one night. I went into the rehearsal room and I had several things running around in my head, something that would sound eerie, cool, underwatery-ish. I call it underwatery, murky. And I had in my head the theme from, because I'm a big movie fan and I love soundtracks. The theme from what the heck is it? Phantasm. Okay. And I think Carpenter wrote all his music for his films, and he had this boom, 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 kind of a flow to it. And at the same time, there's a feel that's very similar in the very beginning of the Grand Funk Railroad song "Loneliness," which is it starts in E. So Mel Schachter he's going hitting E, then he goes to a C. I'm like, that's it. That's that same feel, that same sound. Like that. I don't have my basses plugged in because tornado watch. I put everything in my cases in case I have to run them downstairs. Plug it in and play.
Protect the babies.
It's just two notes. It's just E to C, and it sounds really cool. Which is the same thing Malmsteen said, because Mark had come in and started sitting in with me while I'm trying to experiment with this. So, I hit the E and Mark would go like, boom, 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 boom. And I hit the C, Mark would go, boom, 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 like that. So Malmsteen comes in, door opens, here comes Malmsteen, he goes, hey man, that sounds really cool. What are you doing, man? And I said, well, just working on something like an intro theme or something like that. We had the whole band had gone as house guests at the Roxy to see Y&T. And it was the Black Tiger album.
Okay.
Okay, and they had an intro theme called "From the Moon."
Mm.
And it was like this brought them to the stage. And
Right.
they later reprised it in the beginning of the song Forever. It would
Gotcha.
go right into and I that also I had all these things running through my head. So I go back to the studio, the rehearsal studio, and I'm just playing E to C, E to C. And before long, Abduction was born,
Hmm.
but it didn't have a name yet. So Mark goes, "What are you going to call it?" And I said, "I don't know yet." And we're trying, it's like trying to come up with a name for a band. What sounds cool? What could describe what that is? And since our whole shtick was to take the audience away with us, Abduction would be a plausible, idea, a plausible name to abduct the audience. I mean, UFOs do it all the time, right? They abduct people. So what they did was the way it was explained to me, the breakdown of the politics. Mark had taken me aside and said, "Here's what the breakdown is going to be. Ingve's going to get 70% because he's playing all the guitars on it, and I think Mark said there was even a piano. I don't hear a piano, but up in the studio they may have played E to C on the piano. Malmsteen did that. He goes, I'm getting 20% for the coming up with the name Abduction, and you get 10%. I'll let you sit with that for a second.
What? How?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I created the nucleus of I wrote the thing. It's just two songs, and it's the only piece on the album that has my name on it. But I mean, yeah, all the other songs were already written by Ron anyway. So I mean, we
Now,
got
how about like did Ron didn't have no say in this?
no because I wrote it. I mean, so it was he was not involved in the writing. I mean, it's an instrumental, and
Right.
it's only like a minute, maybe 2 minutes or something like that. Um, but I just I stood there. I wrote E to C, E to C. Mark came in, played the drums on it. Malmsteen started laying guitars over it, and when it kind of finally came for us to record it, that's what was explained to me on how the royalties would be divided, the mechanicals on that piece that I wrote. So Malmsteen got 70%, Mark got 20%, and I got 10.
So at that point, is that when you're like, oh, I can see how this is going to work out?
Well, look, it's when it comes to signing the contracts, and you want to start looking at the details. It's either sign the contract or we'll find somebody else.
Right.
That's a lot of how the politics were run back in the day, you know. Um, and if you want to stay on board, you go with the flow. You don't be the boat rocker, or a loose
Right.
cannon like that. But that's how it was done back then, and I'm sure Ron would agree that some decisions were made that were probably should have been thought about a little bit more clearly, or more with more consideration, or whatever you want to call it. But
Right.
again, we were under the gun, under pressure to get this thing done really quick. So it's like, what are you looking at the contract for? Just sign it. Okay. and the one and done, and move on and record and have an album under your belt and like that, So that's how it is. And you know what? Every time we do like we'll do a Steeler reunion, or if
Hmm.
Ron has the Ron Keel band or Keel playing somewhere, and I come to the venue, and Ron has me come up and he says, "You're still the bass player in Steeler." So when I come up to jam, they'll play that. He'll arrange for them at the soundboard to play Abduction to bring me to the stage, which is kind of cool,
That's cool.
Yeah, when
That's cool.
Keel played the Whiskey and Ron had me come up, it was like 2013, I think, something like that. Keel played at the Whiskey in Hollywood, and Ron had me come down to the stage, and they'd play Abduction while I came to the stage like that. And so when we moved here in Missouri, the Ron Keel band was playing up in Kansas City with Jack Russell's Great White.
Okay.
So my wife and I, we drove 4 hours up to Kansas City, and I got up there and I did Cold Day in Hell with Ron and like that. I think they played Abduction as I was coming to the stage. So that's like, and we have some stuff coming up in the near future with Steeler. So there's some exciting and cool things going to be happening up the road very
That's
soon.
cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool. So what led to the last show that you and Ingve were part of?
Radio City. That was the name of the club. It was right next door to the Woodstock in Orange County, and those two clubs were really well known. Let's see what happened. We did a show. It was I got some pictures. Hot and sweaty, small club, steamy. I mean, like you could take your shirts off. We're just pouring sweat. Ron was in rare form. We have several points in the show where Ingve and I would go together while Ingve's doing a solo. Let me get the camera there. And Ingve and I would come together like that, shoulder to shoulder, while he's playing. And, I'd play off of him. He'd play off of me. And then Ron would come up in between us like that. There we go. Like that.
Right.
And he put his arms around both of us. So it's like, here's the three boys up front,
Yeah.
And he said, Ron's going, encourage the audience. Yeah. Look at us. We're killing it up here. Like, and Ron wore these studded wristbands. Like a lot of guys did,
Sure.
I even had some, but his were extra like pointy. And he'd put his arms around us like that. So his right arm would come around my right shoulder. And his hand was like right here, just like my hand is there now. Or like that. And sometimes when we were done with that solo, Ingve and I would separate, and then Ron would come right through the middle to the front of the stage to continue the singing. And when that would happen, Ron would take his arms back away from us like that so he could come through. And his wristband.
Shit. Stay tuned. He'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Give him a second. He'll be popping back on. Right in the middle of this. I'm dying to know what happened, because obviously something happened with this. All right. What do you think happened is the question. Do you think this... Hold on, here we go.
There we go again.
Here we go.
That's twice. Third time's a charm. Waiting for your picture there. So should I just continue or...
Yeah, did you see me?
No, I don't see you. I just see a black square.
Really?
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll pop myself on and bring back on. Let's see.
That's just me. There's you. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. And now your picture's frozen again. Every time you go back to you, I can see you move, and then the screen freezes. So now you have your eyes closed.
I'm not asleep. Trust me.
Yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, so Ron's wristbands would grab a hold of my hair and yank me like that, and you get little pieces of my hair stuck in his wristband, and shit happens on stage, like
sure.
You're in the moment, your adrenaline's pumping, you're excited like that. And then so we finish the show, and we go into the dressing room, kitchen, the club's kitchen. Just like peeling soaking wet clothes off. We could have just came out of a swimming pool with our clothes on. It was like that bad. And Ron says we're going to have a band meeting tomorrow. The day after the show. And I said, all right. So I get up in the morning, because I live there too. I get up in the morning, I walk out to the common area, and it's just me and Mark Edwards. There's no Ron, there's no Ingve. And Mark says, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's not going to be a band meeting. He goes, I don't remember where Ron was. I don't remember where he said Ron was. He might have been over at Dee Dee's house. I don't know. He said, and Malmsteen is going to be here later. He's coming to pick up his gear. And I said, what happened? He says, see, in the meanwhile, Malmsteen was already out networking and looking for other gigs. So in retrospect, he was using Steeler as a doorway, a stepping stone into America to establish himself. Steeler was his live calling card, so to speak, his sandwich board. This is who I am. This is what I do, and he had already been networking. It was said that I introduced him to Phil Moog from UFO at one of the shows. I don't remember that because they were scouting Malmsteen. to replace Michael Schenker.
Okay.
But apparently, what I was told was he had already gotten the contractual drama out of the way with Alcatraz. So Ingve was going to show up later with Andy Truman, the at the time manager of Alcatraz, and when they came later, he picked up his gear and not even so much as a bye, see you. It's been nice, but I'm out of here. Andy Truman came in, he looked around and went, Jesus Christ, at the squalor we were living in, like that. How could you guys live like this kind of attitude? He came with a truck, whatever Malmsteen's gear had with him, and on the truck, and goodbye, gone. But meanwhile, it's just Mark and I. And he says, "Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It was the generic we're breaking up the band kind of and starting over kind of thing." So he says Ingve's out of the band. He's already committed to Alcatraz, and I said, "Oh, really?" And he says, "You're out." And I said, "What did I do?" He goes, "It's just a decision we made. Ron and I talked about it, and we just want to kind of just break it up and start over again."
Wow.
So what kind of? I didn't really have any kind of closure on that. I didn't know that if I had done anything or said anything, that nothing was. No. It's just we're starting over, and we're going to just get new guys. I'm like, Jesus, that's how it's done. I mean, then again, I saw that done in Jersey when I was with the E. Walker band.
Right.
And I replaced, E. Walker's bass player, number 6. I was number 7 out of 8 bass players in the history of E. Walker. I watched them fire their guy in front of me and say, you're not in the band anymore. We got a new guy. He's over here. He just showed up. So I know that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't realize it was the knife was that icy, and cold.
So, but basically, they knew the day before, obviously, with that gig.
I don't know if it was obvious.
They had to know.
Well, the way I don't know what they knew. I mean, the way we were on stage, you would never have known. It was just like we were just going through we're doing the routine. Everybody was interacting on stage. It was, I didn't see any facetiousness or anything, pretentiousness, within our act on stage. There was no weird looks. You know what? Let me rescind that. At the end of a show that we just got off stage with that night at Radio City, I had said to Ron, "Hey, by the way, can you do me a favor?" I said, the thing you did with the wrist, arms around us like that. I said, your wristband, like just tearing up into my hair like that when you take your arm away. I said, do you think maybe you could be a little more mindful of that? It was really weird. Ron just looked at me and goes, "Don't worry, man. It'll never happen again." It's like that. Now I thought that was weird. Ron's an expert. To his credit, he's an expert at a straight face delivery, and you never know if he's serious or he's busted your balls.
Right.
Because he'll say something like that would be like, "Holy shit, did Ron just say that?" And then like a couple of seconds, he's watching for your reaction, and a couple of seconds later, he'll go, "I'm just kidding, man. I'm just busting your chops, man." And he does that to me all the time, So, So
did you ever have all these years? I mean, you're still friends with Ron all these years later. You never sat down with him and said, "Hey, Ron, like."
I did actually.
Okay.
As the plans for the first Keel Fest were being laid. Those foundations were being laid, and okay. Ron and I were on the phone a few times like this, and I said, "Hey, and I had some things I wanted to ask you just to clear the air a little bit because I didn't have any closure on this." And we talked about it, we discussed it, and the way Ron puts it in his inimitable way is, he goes, "So there was supposed to be a band meeting?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "But there was no band meeting." I said, "No." He goes, "Well, if there was no band meeting, then you were not let go. You're still technically a Steeler." I said, "Even though other bass players took my place in several lineups of Steeler after that. He goes, "That doesn't matter, man. It's water under the bridge. What matters now is you're the bass player in Steeler. That's it." I'm like, okay. So that was kind of pretty much how he explained it to me. He doesn't really. Sometimes you don't remember, or you put things out of your mind, or forget details. I don't know. Sometimes, like in the case of Randy Piper, when people ask Randy about me, they don't want to be cornered into having to be embarrassed to answer something that might not be a nice way to say it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. All I know is that we're here and it's now, and I've already played the first Steeler reunion at Keel Fest in Columbus, Ohio in 2019. It was the reunion, the Steeler reunion that the critics said would never happen. And we did that, and we came off really well. We had a great time. Ron is the hardest working guy in show business, bar none. And he's got a lot on his shoulders. He's running the whole shebang, and he's singing for 3 bands the whole night. So, you got to hand it to him like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so plans are being discussed about any kind of potential future Keel Fests and Steeler shows and whatnot. But before that, there's Ron's working on an album called Keel World. And there's going to be some Steeler material on that. So I just talked to Ron the other day. He and Mitch are doing some writing on some riffs and hooks and things like that.
Nice.
And then, I guess they'll send me the rough tracks so I have something to work with before I even walk into the studio. So I know what I'm doing. And as Ron likes to say, hey, man, you're just playing an A string. It's just one note, man.
So how about after that? Did you have any more run-ins or conversations with Yngwie over the years, or
with W.A.S.P?
Yeah.
I saw him once or twice at a NAMM show, the convention, the music convention in Anaheim. And actually, let me backtrack. When Malmsteen had his accident where he ran his Jaguar into a tree. Okay, he was on a coke bender. Mm-hmm. He was just shoveling Peru up his nose, and like that. And I hear stories about him getting into fights with people in the clubs. And he lived in Florida, and he'd run his mouth in Florida like he did with us. Only in Florida, they're not going to take that. You say something like what Malmsteen would say to somebody in their face. In Florida, bam,
yeah,
you're out. You're on the floor, which had happened. I heard somebody plowed him right in a kisser. But that didn't deter him or stop him. He's still angry. Anyway, so he ran his Jaguar into a tree, and I was one of the people that got a phone call from his at the time girlfriend, asking if he's recovering in the hospital, would I take some time to say hi and talk to him like that and whatever. And we got on the phone and we talked, and it was like, wow, it was like nothing ever happened. He was like being a nice guy. There was no attitude. He wasn't being condescending. It's like, when the world flashes, your life flashes before your eyes. You start to realize, hey, I'm alive, and I'm still able to. He goes, I can't play as much right now. I'm still healing, But I just wanted to say, hey, man, I'm sorry about this or whatever, and just kind of friendly chit chat. So I was surprised. I was shocked at that, given what we had gone through. I mean, at one point, Yngwie says to me while we were rehearsing, man, if I played bass like you, I'd kill myself. And I said,
okay.
And yet here we are.
Yeah, right.
So, and he also forgets about convenience.
Shit. Oh, come on. Give it a second. Rick will be back. Unbelievable. Here we go. All right. You're not there. There you are. Can you see me?
No, but I'm getting a warning finger. That's the third time. It's your side's loading. It's a black screen. So in any event, Yngwie had selective amnesia because he forgets all the times when we weren't jamming on Steeler stuff that we were jamming on Deep Purple and Scorpion songs.
Right.
That's his Uli Roth and Blackmore, his idols.
Mm-hmm.
He plays just like them, and plus tax. So there was that condescending attitude wasn't there then. We were kind of having fun, in the off time. But so anyway, to answer your question, I spoke to him after the accident, and then I'd see him at the NAMM show once or twice. He was strutting down the carpet, down the walkway, going from one endorsement signing event to another, and his wife, kind of like the locomotive out front, the bulldozer with the cow catcher blade, like the look on your face, like don't even, you're not even going to say anything to him, don't even. And he's got two huge bodyguards on either side of him, flanking his right and left shoulder, just in case he's mobbed. Or he's mistaken for another Yngwie J. Malmsteen. And that was that. And I stood right there, watched him go by, no acknowledgement, nothing. A couple of years ago, while we were still living in California, he played at the Rose Club in Pasadena. And it's a dining theater show experience kind of a thing.
Okay.
I was there with some guys I was jamming with at the time, and we got there early. You set up you go during a like sound check time or something. So it's the security is more lax. But one of the guys I was with managed to talk his way into getting us the all access wristbands like that, and we walk in and we look like rock guys, even though in jeans. But the girl goes, "Oh, you guys are the band, right?" I'm like, yeah, that's it. We're the band. We got the all access wristbands. So we're sitting out at the tables, and they're playing some rock or something over the PA. The sound check's already done, but we're there before pretty much everyone else. And then one of the guys I was with, he goes, "Hey, you're friends with Malmsteen? Let's go backstage. Let's go say hi." I said, "I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be a good idea. I don't know." He said, "No, come on, let's go." So the three of us get up, four of us, and we go through the backstage area. Nobody there. The roadies are off on the side eating. It's like dinner time. And there's this doorway here and a room on the side, and I walk in, like, and I turn around like that, and there's Malmsteen sitting on a couch. He's got a towel around his throat, and he's just looking, like this, or he's just doing stuff on his cell phone. He looks up and he goes, "Can I help you?" I said, I was wearing a cowboy hat.
Okay.
I guess he didn't recognize me because I got, the mustache and this, the D'Artagnan look, Musketeer look. Maybe he didn't recognize me. I don't know. And I said, I came to say hi to the Viking. And he just there was that beat for a second, and he goes, "Please leave," like that. He goes, I don't have time for this. Please leave. So,
wow.
Okay. In that split second of just turning out of the doorway, and there was already a 6 foot some odd security guy standing there. That fast. I don't know how he found. Maybe he saw the guys behind me. I didn't see them seeing him seeing him. Anyway, he goes, "You guys got him out. And they took away the all access wristbands and just gave us the regular house, wristband like that. And as soon as we got back to our tables, you knew he was pissed. Malmsteen was pissed. The music over the PA that they were playing immediately stopped, and it was like Paganini. It was like classical violin music over the house PA. And from what we heard later, he ragged the entire road crew back there. He tore them a new ass, because how could they be sitting on their ass not watching the backstage area, and anybody could just walk in like that? And so we immediately got on Facebook on our cell phones and went, "Wow, badge of honor! We just got tossed out of Yngwie Malmsteen's dressing room." We did it like that because it was kind of funny. It became a joke, I mean, we stayed, we watched the show. We watched him kick guitar picks off the tip of his boot all night, and it was like 7 or 8 Marshall stacks, 22 heads, and his band was off on the stage right, in a little contained area.
Yeah.
The keyboards, the drums, bass player, they were all in this like 8-foot, 10-foot by 10-foot square like that. And then he had the whole rest of the stage like that. And then after the show, the drummer came out and he was friends with somebody I knew. So they were talking like that. And he goes, "Oh, you're the guys." He heard about what happened before the show. He goes, "You're the guys that got kicked out back there." "Oh man, was he?" He goes, "Ingve was on fire back there."
That's
he
funny.
Was pissed.
You should have said who you were, though.
Yeah. Just came to say hi to an old friend, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, like that. But and of course, Ron has offered many times opportunities for Ingve to come back and play with us. He's like, "Get out of here! You guys are so beneath me." Like that. At least we tried. That'd have been great. It'd been fun. You see, Mark can't play with us. Mark, like a lot of rock guys, they have side hobbies they really like. They like Stephen Pearcy and Vince Neil, like racing cars.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of those guys. They love NASCAR kind of stuff. Mark was a motocross guy.
Okay.
So he rode motocross bikes, and during one of his forays into riding, this is after Steeler had broken up. I believe, and he was riding motocross, and on the motocross course, if you know what it looks like, there's a lot of curves and whatnot, and there's a section that, let me see if I can find the camera, goes up like this.
Yeah.
They call them whoop-de-doos.
Okay.
And you go up and down like this over them. And Mark had gotten some air time and came off the bike. And when he came down, the bike came down on his back and broke his back.
Oh.
Yeah. So he was laid up in the hospital for a while, and they were saying, "You're never going to walk again." Well, I'm here to tell you today he's walking. The only thing is he can't play drums anymore. He's a very successful businessman in Dallas.
Okay.
For a huge public relations firm. Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, that's one of his clients. Keith Richards' daughter is one of his clients, like that. So Mark will show up for posterity, when we're doing a Steelers show, and we all get together on stage and put our arms around each other, take a bow like that.
Right.
But with minus Sans Momstein, it's Mitch Perry is now playing with Steelers.
Right.
And that just segues into, we feel great playing together on stage. Mm-hmm. Mitch is just this laid back guy, really, mellow and no big deal. It was as if like a hippie smoking pot. Mitch is this really mellow guy, and of course he's played with Cher, Edgar Winter, Michael Schenker, Tallis. Mm-hmm. He's played with a lot of people. So, so it's great to have Mitch playing with us, and it was a great feeling on stage together at the El Rose Sevilla in Columbus. We played together like that. We did one rehearsal before the show. That was it. In LA, we did it. Ron got everybody together, and he rehearsed the Keel band. He rehearsed his Ron Keel band, wherever they were. And in LA, he rehearsed the Keel and Steeler. Like that, and we walked in and we played and we rocked it. And Ron was like, "Man, see you in Ohio, boys."
That's awesome.
And so Mitch and I flew out together out of Burbank and like that, and I learned a lot about. I actually was for all my years. That was my first where you go to fly to play. There's these flying in and out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like that. So I learned a lot from Mitch on how to get the first seat in the plane. So you get on first and get off first. Because he's been doing that for decades. But Mitch and I both suffer from sciatica, so that's legitimate. It wasn't like a scam or anything. It's like we both have sciatica. We don't want to. I don't know if I share the secret. We don't want to hold up the plane with the guitars. It's probably a better courtesy if we get on first with them before the crowd, so we don't block in the aisle. And
right.
And the same thing, getting off. We can get the guitars and get off the plane first. We're not holding everybody up, so that makes sense. And they went, okay, so it was like that, and that was pretty much it. So I really don't talk to Malmsteen anymore. I don't think he'd want to.
Wow. So all right. So then after that, what are you thinking now? You're like, here we go again. Where do I end up now? What am I going to do?
Oh, after Steeler?
Yeah.
Yeah, naturally, that's a natural order, right? What am I going to do? Well, since I'd already built some momentum and something of a name for myself, 1/4 of a box office draw for one of the hottest bands in LA. So I kind of had a little bit of a clout, if you will. And now it's my turn to try and do something on my own. So I didn't want to let any moss grow under the stones while I'm rolling. And I figured, well, this might be a good time to reform Sin, and like that. And I had a name, so it's not uncommon in the business when you've built up a reputation, a name for yourself. When you advertise, you say so and so band featuring such and such player, like
Right.
that. That's part of the protocols of the business. You're an established person, unless you join somebody with bigger players than yourself. Then they could say with new bass player from such and such band like that.
Mm-hmm.
But so I got introduced through somebody I knew mutually to this keyboard player, Vince Gilbert.
Okay.
Was with a bunch of bands at Arizona and played around circuits and whatnot. I didn't know who he was, quite frankly. When I was with Steeler, we're pretty much sequestered. We didn't really go out that much. Didn't go out and mingle. Didn't go out and
Mm-hmm.
network. Didn't go out. It was pretty much house bodies. We didn't have any kind of like pocket money to go out and go to clubs all the time or anything like that. We were
Right.
all starving. So whatever pennies you can get your hand. My unemployment had finally come through. In something that was never done before, combining my unemployment from New York with my unemployment in Los Angeles, so that I got them both together, and I get an unemployment check, and I was able to get a little bit of food. Of course, I shared some of that with the guys in the Bay Asia picture, like that. But so I wanted to get this thing going again and get off the ground. So I got introduced to Vince. And me looking at that time, like Punky Meadows with the hair, the
Mm-hmm.
angel look. Vince, in his own defense, Vince kind of looked a little like Greg Giuffria.
Okay.
Long, blonde, shaggy hair, all the way long hair, way down, like
Mm-hmm.
that. And we were introduced, and I said, well, I've just got out of Steeler, and I'd like to do something. I don't necessarily want to play the same kind of stuff with sweeping arpeggios like I was with Malmsteen. I said, I'm a 70s guy. I love Uriah Heep. I love Deep Purple. I love, Steppenwolf. I don't, and since you're a keyboard player, I mean, those are the bands that I grew up liking that were predominant
Mm-hmm.
keyboard bands. I was saying the right thing. It's because John Lord is one of Vince's all-time favorite keyboard players. So, and Ken Hensley played keyboards and guitar for Uriah Heep. Was like one of my idols that I looked up to, like that, and great songwriter. I saw Uriah Heep in Central Park, like that. So, and I was a big fan of Gary Thane. I don't play like him. I try to, but and I listen to the Uriah Heep's material. I try to play along to it as best as I can, and study Gary Thane's bass style, which is not too far removed from John Paul Jones, but different. Anyway, so Vince and I decide, let's try and put something together, throw it at the wall, see what sticks. I
Okay.
said, it'll be based off of my name because I'm the guy with the draw. He said, yeah, no problem. I said, okay, like that. Because I don't know how to say that diplomatically.
Mm.
How do you say, well, it's, we're going to have my name out front? Because that sounds like, your ego. Now, again, like I said, I didn't want to have a guitar player that was like Malmsteen.
Right.
So I remember, okay, who can I get? And I remembered that when I auditioned for the Greg Leon Invasion, their drummer Carl, big set of silver drums, big monster set. And I said, and Carl and I liked Cozy Powell. Cozy Powell's like my all-time favorite drummer. And I said, okay, let me try and contact him, see if Carl will be interested. And I got in touch with him. I said, I'm putting something together. I just got out of Steeler and I got a keyboard player. Would you be interested? And he said, sure. So he left what he was doing, and got in with us. I don't remember how we got our singer, Art. It might have been through somebody mutual. I was still new. I didn't know how to properly screen people for chemistry to make sure we're all going to get along.
Right.
Like that. I was just grabbing guys. I'm the catalyst. I'm the center of the wheel. I'm like, I need this spoke. I need this spoke. I need this spoke. You know, David Lee Roth might say something like the same thing like that. You know, I'm the center and I do the anyway. So I got recommended to a guitar player through a friend of mine. He goes, he's a huge Malmsteen fan. He'd love to play with you. I was getting hit on by Malmsteen type players.
All right.
Before I met Vince, I got hit up by really great guitar player, nice guy. We're still friends. Chris Impellitteri.
Okay.
Fantastic guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of in the Malmsteen style vein,
Yeah.
like that. And sweeping arpeggios, that kind of, you know. And we jammed. Chris and I jammed, you know, and it really wasn't going anywhere. I said, you know, this would be more about you. You're like the smoking gun. You're the pistolero. I like what you do, and I like you as a person, but I don't want to play that kind of stuff right now.
Mm.
You know, so you know, and we had a singer come in that was we were trying to put a band together, and it just wasn't really going anywhere for me. So I didn't want to have to keep saying no to, because you know, you're the bass player from Steeler. You played with Malmsteen. You played with my idol. I want to play.
Right.
With you. I don't want to do that again. You see, I want to do something that I want to do, and like that. So we got this this guitar player, Howard Dawson. Howard, he liked Malmsteen, but he was also a Randy Rhoads fan.
Okay.
So instead of Malmsteen, we got a guy who played like a little bit like Randy Rhoads. You know, and he played a lot of classical type stuff. He did classical studies on acoustic guitar. He was really young. I mean, he'd never played in a band before. This would have been Howard's first band. He was like, you know, band virgin, you know.
Okay.
Never been on stage for anything like that kind of presentation like this. This is all new to him. So it's like, I'm the oldest guy in a band. I got to like babysit, arrange all of this. And then Vince helped a lot. Vince got us, you know, rehearsal studios. Vince made some connections. He got us hooked up with Azra Records with Dave Richards, so we could record the one of my songs, our songs, On the Run, like that. And so we got, one way or another, we fumbled our way through putting a band together, and we got the singer Art Darish in there. And Art sang a little bit like, you could compare him to Mark Storace from Crocus.
Okay.
He had that kind of raspy voice. Whiny, nasally, but raspy. And we rehearsed, and we came to a point where it's like, okay, so what do we call ourselves? What does our music say? Who are we? You know, and nobody could come up with anything. You know, and I said, well, this is where I'm trying to explain against other egos. I'll probably just wind up calling it Sin. And they're like, no, that was a band you had in Jersey years ago. That was a whole different band. I said, yeah, it was a Jersey. Totally different band. They were extremely adamant against me using the name Sin.
Okay.
So I said, look, here's the line in the sand. I'll give you guys 2 weeks. If you can't describe what we sound like, you can't come up with a really good name, then it's going to be Sin. They went, okay, fair enough. 2 weeks came. Week 1, nothing. Week 2, nothing. The end of 2 weeks, okay, guys, what's it going to be? Nothing. They had nothing.
Wow.
So I saw myself as the visionary and the guy with the ideas, things like that, the direction. And I said, all right, it's going to be Sin. And they were not pleased about it, but we used it.
Well, it sounds like it was like, you know, also weird for you at that point, because, you know, you were not used to like pretty much taking control of everything. And this was more now,
right?
You were almost running the ship now.
I didn't have a manager to act as that the protection out front. I don't know what you want to call it, to say, listen, this is what it's going to be. And Rick is this and Rick is that. And you do this, and you do that. And, you know, not like what Rick says goes, but I mean, you know, everybody's got to kind of know what their position is, besides as a player. And I know this because I've heard from people who were in the Ronnie James Dio camp,
Right.
and I understood how the politics ran and how things were done. And I know Ronnie meant in his heart of hearts for everything to be equal with everybody, but there was the management back here going,
Yeah.
It's based around Ronnie, and that's all there is to it. And okay, so I didn't have that kind of representation.
Right.
So it makes it look like I'm this egotistical asshole trying to tell people what to do. And it wasn't like that at all. I would suggest stuff, and put it to a vote like that. Because I believe in a team player.
Yeah.
Like that, and nobody should be forced into something they don't like, So, so it became Sin. We really didn't have even a stage look, a stage image of anything. I mean, our first band photo in BAM magazine newspaper, we looked like the Brady Bunch, like bunch of guys in t-shirts, real harmless looking t-shirts, jeans, no makeup, just a bunch of guys sitting around with a guy in a chair. We're just, like the Brady Bunch. That's what we looked like, real harmless. Vince had a connection.
Do you have that picture still?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I have the.
You got to send that to me one day.
Okay. Vince had a connection in Phoenix, and he was friends with actually a drug dealer, but they got us 2 shows, warm-up shows, and thank God we did it out of town, out in Phoenix. Or one was in Phoenix and the other was in Flagstaff.
Okay.
Flagstaff in the winter, you don't want to be there. Because Flagstaff's at elevation, that's it's a skiing college town. So, so we did our first show at Rockers, which I played years later when I was in Surgical Steel. We played Rockers, so the stage was already known to me. But so we go on. I created an intro tape. Angel has been a huge influence on me. And anybody knows me knows that to the lengths and levels of how much they were influenced. So I said to Vince, let's make some kind of intro tape like we did. Steeler had Abduction. I'm not going to use that. So let's create some new intro and I'll narrate a story of Sin. He goes, okay. We did this real Little Rascals kind of, Little Rascals in the Barn kind of recording. And we'd play this music and that music and weird stuff. And I'm narrating. And I'm reading my script and I'm narrating, and I have to make sure the cues all match up. And it might have been a little long-winded, but it was some people don't have the patience to sit through that. But when I saw Angel, and I see, there's the recording is Gabriel called his angels in heaven and said, "Who will go to earth?" And it's this whole story. So that was what I drew from, and I put this little story together and a music background to introduce us. And then while the intro tape is running, we're on stage. It's dark. We're getting ready to hit the first chorus, the first opening song. And Howard's going, "Oh, my God, something's wrong with my guitar. Oh, my God." I said, "Are you plugged in?" And I could see from his guitar, his little 1/4-inch jack dangling down by his guitar strap. I said, "Plug it in, you moron." And he looks down. He goes, "Oh, yeah, you're right. Thanks." Plugs the guitar in. That's why I said it's a good thing we did this out of town.
Oh boy!
So we played our first show, and I didn't even know how many people were there. Not many, because nobody knew us. And we got that out of the way. So that was the first show with the Jitters, and it was a whole tour of, not tour, but I call it the Arizona Boner Tour, because anything that could go wrong did. I mean, we had this little tow wagon on the back of the vehicle that we were all in, and they didn't have it hooked up to the hitch correctly. And as you know, if you don't hook that up correctly, you're going to have this. The wagon behind you is going to start. There was no sway bar. So anytime we get over 40 miles an hour, the cart in the back starts, with all our gear, starts going like this. So we had to drive, I don't know, no greater than 40 miles an hour all the way to freaking Arizona. It was an all-night drive. The vehicle broke down at one point in the middle of the night. I was sleeping in the back of the vehicle.
Oh, geez.
Got us into a truck stop somewhere, and somehow somebody was able to help fix what was wrong with the vehicle. And then, so like I said, everything was going wrong. Okay, then we go up to Flagstaff, and it's like snow and slush weather. Now we're getting colds. We're not feeling good. I wasn't feeling well. And we get to this bar. Vince doesn't even remember. I asked him. You had to go behind the bar, and the bar ran like a huge oval, like a racetrack. And
Okay.
up in the center of that, raised up, was a platform area. That's where the band played. Now, Vince, being the traditional keyboard player, 70s style, he had what was a Hammond B3. That's some of the heaviest gear for a keyboard player. If keyboard players out there know what I'm talking about. It's almost impossible to move this thing, and it was on the truck, off the truck, on the truck, off the truck, and the thing weighed a ton. Now we're trying to get this thing behind the bar, up onto the island behind the bar, plus the drums. I don't think we could line up completely horizontal like you could on the stage. We kind of had to stagger at an angle to get everything up on this thing. And it was like almost nobody there. It was like people in parkas and quilted ski jackets and mucka boots in the audience. And it was like, we're in hell. Let's just get this show done and get the hell out of here. And we did the show. Like I said, I was miserable. I had a cold or something. I wasn't feeling well. We go back to the hotel. We're all cramped in one room. And it was like, you put your hand on the cinder block walls and it's cold. We didn't have much to eat. We didn't have much money. We somehow made it back to LA and try to prepare better for what would be the next show. And this is when I started experimenting with costuming. Not new to me. I've been working on costuming since the 70s, but something for this band now. And I saw on MTV, the Police had a video called Synchronicity 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's starts off with that doom doom da doom 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 da doom doom. It's like a heavier song that the Police did.
Yeah.
The camera backs up, takes in the whole frame, and you hear oh, it's Sting, and he's hanging from some wires, and the camera pulls back, and he's got all of these shredded, bomb tattered clothing, and it had a lot of red in it and some blue, and I'm thinking, wow, can you imagine if a whole band looked like that?
It's funny. As soon as you said Police Synchronicity 2, I said to myself, that's where he got the look for it. It like instantly clicked.
A lot of people don't want to reveal their sources. Guys like myself, Greg Chason, we've talked about this. We wear our influences on our sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're not shy about that. And I'm the first one who would admit where I get all my stuff from. Some magicians don't reveal how their tricks are done. I've always been the kind of guy that likes to know what goes on backstage, how the film was made. I want to see the documentary. How did they do this? How did they do that? I'm my father's son, so we're like that. So I started getting T-shirts and fabric and cutting it up and shredding, making these rags kind of a look like that. And I kind of threw together some semblance of costuming for the band. And Vince got a photographer to shoot us. And like the session we did for the Sin single On the Run for Azra, we go over to the photographer's house and we're standing there in our living room. And I some guys just either don't do it or they're uncomfortable with it. So I did everybody's makeup, I did everybody's hair because we didn't have a stylist.
Right.
I knew how to do this stuff because I'm an artist.
You became a stylist.
I create. I've done this stuff to myself. I can just do it to somebody else now. So I did everybody's hair. I did their makeup. I did their outfits, the costuming. And I look over in the corner, and she's got this big roll of Mylar, shiny Mylar. And I said, "Can we use that?" And she goes, "Yeah. What are you going to do with it?" I said to all the guys in the band, "Everybody lay down on the floor, all next to each other like this, like on your elbows." And they all laid down. And I unrolled the Mylar at their elbows in front of them, all across the floor. And the photographer looks at me. She goes, "I know where you're going with this." And Vince goes, "Angel, I said, right.
Yeah.
If you look at the Angel album, On Earth as It Is in Heaven,
Mm-hmm.
there's the picture of them upright like this, but then
Yep.
there's a reflection of them upside
Yep.
down. The same photo reversed. And it looks like they're over water. So
Yeah.
anytime you see like a picture of the mountains with a lake in front of it, you see the mountain up here and you see the mountain down here.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to get that same effect with this Mylar and get in tight so you don't see the carpet. And it pretty much, it was a similar, but not exactly. It looked like we're over shimmering water. And you could partially see our reflection in it.
Cool.
So this was, jumping on it. I see it. I got an idea. Let's try this. And that's the picture that we used for the Sin single for On the Run. And like that. So this is the stuff that I would do, aside from being the bass player. I was like a jack of all trades.
Now, what's I did see something as I was going through like research and stuff about that song On the Run. That Danish Strum stole the song or something.
Yes, he did. Hang on a sec. See if we can get that without the reflection. There. See?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Here, all along here,
Right
along here, it looks like water.
Right.
So we're all kind of like, we're actually all laying on the floor, resting on our elbows, and that's the Mylar in front of us.
Wow.
So that was it really does look like water.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But like that. So anyway, so that's now we started to have a look, and we sounded heavy. We sounded in addition On the Run, and Angel, the influence of Angel plays into that. The flip side was a song called Captured in Time.
Okay.
And Vince did this orchestrated piano intro, and Art would sing just solo over that, and it sounded like he was in a huge empty room, like almost like in a tin can. It had that echo reverb effect to it. And then and because Vince and I were big fans of Angel and of Deep Purple, when Art was done with that intro, the vocals, almost spoken sung intro, Vince comes in with this. If you know the Angel song, The Fortune, Greg Jupria plays this synthy intro kind of thing, and then he comes in with this synthesizer sound. I think you could think it's like a UFO landing.
Right.
It's like this really fast reverberating kind of intro like that. That was what we did at the beginning of Captured in Time. And of course, it's like Rainbow, like Cozy Powell, call comes in with and it sounds just like Rainbow. It sounds like Rainbow meets Uriah Heep plus tax. It was just real heavy, and a lot of the accents I worked out with Carl. Would Carl go da 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 ba, and I'm playing ba 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 along with him on that, and it was tight. It was one of our cooler songs that we love to play. Now in that song and On the Run, I suggested that Vince and Howard do a duel against each other. Okay, now in the Angel song, Feeling Right, Punky will play a couple of measures, and then Greg Jufrier would answer him, call and answer, play a few measures. And then Punky will play something, and then Greg will play something, and then they play it together. Like that. So it was just like this duel back and forth. So I said to Howard and Vince, why don't you two guys play off each other? Howard, you play something, and Vince, you answer him. And then Howard, you answer Vince, and Vince, you answer Howard, and you guys play something together. And that's what we did. And that was so both guys got, because when you have a band with keyboards, it can't be just, if you listen to Deep Purple, you can't be just a guitar. The keyboard player has to say something too. So I said, how about we do it? You say, and say it together and take us right out and back into the chorus or the verse like that. And then that's what we did. We did it in both of those songs. But yes, On the Run was written in a fit of anger one night.
Okay.
The person that I was living with in Venice at the time did something to me that was was well, they went to this theater to see where I was going. I had backstage passes for Rat
Okay.
at this one theater in Beverly Hills. They played, and the person I was with at the time, without my knowing, went there. I didn't get back home in time. I think from rehearsal or what it was. They took it upon themselves to go with their friends to this, and it got in under my name and got my passes and saw the show.
Okay.
And that angered the hell out of me. And I got a ride real quick over to that venue, hoping to catch them in the act. And the show was over. Everybody's wrapping up the wires. The show, they were gone. It was over.
Okay.
So without going into further what happened that evening, I managed to turn that anger into something productive. And that's how On the Run was written. It's kind of like my answer to Born to Be Wild. It's a biker song. You know, it's an escape song. It's a biker song. It's going from city to city, and you know, City of Wind blows me away. City of Dreams stands dreaming today. City of Lights, City of. It's this biker just trying to go from place to place and
right.
Wind in your hair, be free, kind of thing, like that. No chains hold you down, things like that, and that's what we turned into On the Run, and. With my second lineup of Sin, which was with the guys from Alien that came out to LA to reform Sin with me, that's when we went in the studio with Dana Strum.
Oh, okay.
And like that. I had met Dana maybe a couple of years before that. He was playing bass in a new wave band and like that. And I wasn't terribly impressed. But Dana's one of these guys that knew the business, knew the business like nobody knows the business, and it mover and shaker, all the inside information, all the inside dope. This guy knows everything that's going. He's got his fingers in everything. I don't know how.
Right.
And I met him through the manager of the Capitol Records band called Face Dancer.
Okay.
And I think his band was called Modern something, Modern Times, Modern School. I don't know. Modern Image, something like that.
And again, we lost him. He'll be back. Here he comes. Right back. Are you there, Rick? Can you hear me, Rick?
Buffering.
There we go. There we go.
That's 4.
4.
Maybe that's YouTube's way of saying, you know what, Rick, you're a little too long-winded. Enough already. So anyway, my second lineup of Sin was out and we're headlining and we're kicking ass. We played with Stryper. We played all these big shows. We played with Keel. Word got around that we were a new contender in town. We were up and comer. 1984 Music Connection magazine poll voted us the top drawing metal band of LA for 1984, which nobody celebrated but us. So anyway, I was friends with Lucy Forbes. Lucy Forbes was a local promoter in LA.
Okay.
Put on a lot of shows at the Country Club.
Okay.
Or these metal nights. She was like the metal mama. Okay. And she had a clearinghouse to put musicians together with each other, bands looking for players looking for bands, things like that. And I guess she came to see us or something, and she brought a manager down. She knew she was friends with, and this guy named Todd Cooper.
Okay.
Todd worked out of Management 3, at an office out of Management 3 in Beverly Hills. Management 3 was Jerry Weintraub's company.
Okay.
Doesn't get much bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Jerry Weintraub was known mostly for putting out huge hit movies like Karate Kid and stuff like that. But their music division managed the Eagles, John Denver, Neil Diamond. You know, like the biggest established acts in rock. So we were like the unsigned act they were going to take a chance on. So Todd was impressed. He said, "Let me get you guys in the studio. Let's see if we can put an album out." I said, "All right." In comes Dana Strum. I don't remember how he knew Dana, but Dana, like I said, Dana knows everybody.
Yeah.
So Dana at the time was more rocked out now, and he was playing with an artist named Danny Spanos, who had one huge hit on the radio. So that was another foot elevation in the door for Strum. So Strum comes to our rehearsal, brings Danny Spanos with him. Apparently, Danny was an ex-drummer. And they sat there and listened to us rehearse, and then afterwards took me on the side and critiqued what they heard.
Okay.
And he said, if we're going to do anything, he goes, listen, Foxmeyer, if we're going to do anything, we're going to make a record, you're going to have to get rid of that drummer. Drummer's got to go. Singer, got to go. You guys are out of his range. Okay, he can't hit what you're doing. So you want to do a record, you know what to do. Now I'm in that undesirable position.
Right.
You want to sign with the devil, or you want to stay with your buddies?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the one of those doorways they talk about that people hope for and look forward to, is that next level. You want to do a record. Some guys don't think beyond that. But wow, I get to do an opportunity to do a major album. Okay, now I have to tell the drummer that he's out, and I got to tell the singer that he's out. And the singer, Frank Starr, was the singer of Alien that came out to LA to play with me with the guys with the guitar, with Jay and Richie. And Frank took it a little bit better than Mark did. I said, trust me, I don't feel good about this. I feel like shit, having to be the guy to say that. I don't know how Mark felt when he told me that with Steeler, or I know Blackie didn't give a flying rat's ass how he felt telling me I was out of W.A.S.P.
Right.
But I felt now in that position, I have to tell these guys, and I like these guys.
Yeah.
I wanted our drummer Mark, his name was also Mark, Mark Anthony. I wanted him in the band. He was a kick-ass drummer. He and I, as a rhythm section, we got along like peas and carrots.
Wow.
Like Forrest Gump would say. I'd suggest an idea, an accent. He's right there with me, and we play them together like that. He was open for anything, which was great for me as a bass player. Now I have to tell the guy he's out, and according to Danny Spanos, Mark's meter was like all over the place. I said, I don't notice it. I'm listening. I guess he thought Mark was not disciplined enough.
Right.
I wouldn't say sloppy because I didn't know. He said, I guess maybe Mark just wasn't disciplined. I thought Mark was a great drummer. I didn't hear anything detrimental.
The fifth time we lost him. And trust me, he'll be back. Give him a second. Let me see. It's always like right in these good spots of the story. And he's back.
Five. Count them.
Can you see me?
Yeah, it's a frozen picture. You're looking down at the screen. Damn. You know what? Just for shits and giggles, every time that happens, I should switch and have a different hat on. So Frank took it a little bit better. And he was like, all right, whatever. And he went on, of course, to work with Randy Castillo and Bone Angel. And then from there, he wound up as the singer for the Four Horsemen. Rockin' is my business, and business is good. So Frank did pretty well for himself with that, I guess, and like that. And we had to get somebody else to replace those two guys. Dana goes, don't worry about it, I got it covered. So we go. They put us in Kendon Studios in Burbank. This is like where Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder record.
Okay.
Real high profile. No effing around studio. And we start to lay down the tracks in a combination that I've never seen before. Usually you lay down your bass and drums first,
mm-hmm.
And here we laid down the guitars, the rhythm guitars first to a drum machine. And then I come in to play my bass parts to that. And then they bring the drummer in and he had to play to that. Okay. And then the singer, of course, sang over that. So we recorded 4 songs. We did On the Run, Don't Say Goodbye, Break Down the Walls and Stop the Rock, which is another one I wrote. And what was it? We Got Your Rock, which Ace Frehley also recorded. But we had access to the song first, so we were recording that. Dana picked those 4 songs. And then so we recorded all our parts. Dana brought in Mark Slaughter.
Okay.
To sing the tracking vocals. Now, Mark would have been perfect for us. We would have been out the gate much quicker. But I guess Dana wanted to hold on to Mark for Vinnie Vincent because now at this point, Dana was playing with Vinnie Vincent.
I was saying, was Dana with Vinnie Vincent at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's where it
was
ties
was Mark with them guys yet, or were Mark
not yet,
not officially in?
All the stuff you read in the magazines about Mark submitting a tape with no contact information, that's all hype. You know, Dana knew. Mark did an interview not long ago, I guess. I saw it on YouTube, where he says that Dana brought him in to sing some vocals for this band Sin. Like that.
You know what? I interviewed Mark years ago, and I remember asking him about the tape, that whole tape story. I forget what he said. I need to go back and listen and see what he said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because they were hedging their bets with Robert Fleischman at this point, because Robert was the one who actually sang on the first album.
Right.
And then Mark would mime to that in the videos until Mark was established as the singer. You know, Vinny couldn't make up his mind. You know, you go up to Mark on stage right before they go on and go, "Hey, you don't kick it tonight, you're out of the band." You know, this is what he tells his band members right before they're ready to go on stage. Nothing like a morale builder like that, you know.
Yeah.
like a sledgehammer. So Mark came in and sang the tracking vocals, did a great job, but he wasn't going to be our singer. And Dana brought this guy in, this really young guy out of Vegas. That was Dana's connection. He had this connection to Vegas. Mark was from Vegas, like that. And Mark was predominantly a guitar player more than a lead singer, you know, and like that's how Mark tells it. But you know, Mark had a great voice, so Mark was the guy who had the range to hit the stuff that Dana was looking for on our material. So he brought in this drummer. He's a really young guy. Came in. I wasn't even there for the session. The guy drove in from Vegas in one night, set up his drums, tuned them, recorded 4 songs, broke down his drums, and drove back to Vegas. I think his name was Barry Kendall. Really young guy. We called him Odie for the comic strip puppy dog.
Yeah.
He was kind of like Odie, like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. You know, so it was like, you know, a term of endearment. We're making fun of him like that. Really nice kid. Tall, like 6'2", 6'3". It's a good thing he was sitting down because that's what drunk. Anyway, so now we're like, okay, what do we do for a singer? Who's going to be able to hit this stuff? And I don't remember again how we found him, but we got a guy named Rick Reed. Rick Reed is from San Diego. And according to what Stephen Piercy and Jakey Lee told me, Rick Reed is the guy who drove all the musicians out of San Diego and up into Hollywood because the guy was like phenomenal. You know, and when I told them this is who's singing on our album master demo, they were, holy shit, you're getting signed like tomorrow. But you got Rick Reed singing, forget about it. The guy's phenomenal. So I finally get to hear Reed's. I wasn't there when they did I couldn't get a ride up to the studio. Reed did his vocals. We finally got to hear the whole finished product. It was like a cross between Halford and Dio. This guy just nailed it everywhere. And in so doing, I believe that's what led to the breakup of the band. because all these managerial employment type contracts were being put in front of us. Like, okay, we got this done. Now, in order to do all of that, you are now in the employ of management 3. Like,
Okay.
wait a minute. We're working for you. Yes, you are now employees of the management. And we sat around the conference table I took the entire managerial contract home, and I sat there a whole weekend redlining all of these terms and phrases that I wanted to have explained to us exactly what they mean.
Right.
Break down the legalese into layman's terms, and I would question all of these points. And at that point, you become a boat rocker because you're questioning what's being put in front of you. This is what I wasn't able to do this with Steeler, but in the first lineup of Sin, when Vince brought in this unknown to me manager, and we want to sign this management contract, I said, let me take it to a lawyer first and see what it says. I became the pain in the ass. I became the hard ass, the asshole, the boat rocker, because I wouldn't sign it. I said, why? Just because I want a lawyer to look it over? Yeah, you're a loose cannon. You're a pain in the ass. Just sign it. No, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I want to know what this says. So that's one of the things that led to the split up of the first Sin lineup. A lot of people don't know that. It wasn't down because of what was going. Well, I walked out of the studio while we were recording the album, but that's another story. So I get all these contracts, and it was like, yay thick. If I bring it to the screen, it's going to look even bigger.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, but that thing. I was at home and I redlined all this stuff, and I said I put it on the table, a conference table in front of the band, the manager. We had a meeting at the studio, and I said, explain this. One of the things that they were going to bring in is the singer, Rick Reed. His terms were, Sin is going to be my backup band. And I went, what?
Oh.
I didn't bring this thing this far to hand it over to some singer just because he's great. And he's now the main guy, like Dio, and we're the backup band? Not on my watch. I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna hand this thing over to you guys.
Right.
And it became a contentious point. And at that point too, we met with Reed, and he used to have long blonde hair, strawberry blonde hair. He kind of looked like Robert Plant. Well, at this point, what he came in saying, his hair was all cut off. It was all really short. He was driving a truck for Sparklets at the time. And
whoa.
I guess his claim to fame at that point was there was a Budweiser commercial that sounded like Ronnie Dio singing, and it sounded like Rainbow in the Dark, but it was like, this Bud's for you, that theme. And apparently we were told, Reed said that was him. And it sounded like Dio. Now, I read somewhere later that there actually was Ronnie. So I don't know what the final result is on that the jury's still out. But the fact that Reed wanted to take over and make us his band, I was not going to sit right with me. And then subsequently, guitar players, Richie and Jay, were living with each other and becoming like the Bickersons, arguing about this, that, These two guys were pot smokers. So if they weren't sitting down smoking pot and writing twin leads like Iron Maiden, which was like what they love to do, they were arguing about this, that, and the living conditions. He did this and he said that and he did. So their chemistry was starting to become abrasive with each other. And finally, Todd got me to get me into the manager, and he said, look, the band's going to break up. I said, why? He says, well, Jay and Richie aren't getting along right now. I said, can you imagine them on the road? I said, and B, I said, yeah, just give them a joint. They'll be happy. I said, B, they said, they're not really confident in your playing. I said, what does that mean? I recorded the tracks, didn't I? They said, well, when it comes to doing it live. I said, we haven't even gotten there yet. We haven't even rehearsed this material yet. These guys are paranoid. And he says, well, they just feel like they just probably want to go their own way. I said, after all this work we just did, It was like holding sand and watching it go through my fingers. And the more I try to hold it tighter to keep it together, the more it came out through my fingers. And that's how the second lineup dissolved.
It's like
It was management and Strum and the guys themselves. Now, you asked about the Vinnie Vincent connection.
Yeah.
Well, I walked into Kendon one night. I remember exactly why I was supposed to be there. I walked in, and there's Dana Strum, standing there, and sitting up at the control board was Vinnie Vincent. Just kind of kicking back, just like this, swinging in a chair, and they're playing On the Run. And when I walk in, they hit the mute button to stop. And, hey, Foxmeyer, like that. And I felt like I walked into the cheating couple. Like I wasn't supposed to walk in at that moment. People get that look on their face, like the oh shit look.
Yeah.
And Vinny goes, "You look familiar." I said, "Yeah." When we were rehearsing at SIR, I walked into the room that we use, and I heard these Ace Frehley licks. And I walked in, I opened the door, and you're standing there in front of a Marshall stack wearing Ace's lightning boots, and you were playing Ace's licks. He goes, "That's where you look familiar from." Yeah, you looked up, you went hi, and I went, "Oh, sorry, wrong room," and I shut the door. He goes, "Oh, that was you." Yeah, that was me. And he goes, "Hey, we're listening to your song here. We really, really, really like this song." I said, "Yeah, and?" He goes, "I was thinking maybe at some point up the road, maybe we can re-record it, and have you involved." Well, have you involved was never established. There was no definition to have you involved. And that was kind of like, they really loved the song. They loved the song. Okay, so you like the song. And that was pretty much the end of it at that point until the second Vinnie Vincent album came out. I guess what was All Systems Go or so. I forget the second one.
Yeah.
And right before that album came out, my publicist was working for Vinnie Vincent. And she came back one night and handed me a cassette, an advanced demo of the album. She goes, "You're not going to be happy. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to be happy." And she goes, "Play Let Freedom Rock." I put it on a cassette player, and they do, the first three opening chords are the same first three opening chords to my song, Break Down the Walls. It's like, D, G, A, dun, 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 dun. I'm sitting there going, what the fuck? They took the whole thing from On the Run, and it's now it's called Let Freedom Rock.
Wow.
And the vocals are different. The lyrics are different. They had the kindness to do that. I mean, don't piss in my face and tell me it's rain. They took On the Run, they lifted it and just rearranged, changed it a little, and they use that hook, and they go in the verse, they go into something a little bit different, but it constantly goes back to that hook. Now, at that subsequent NAMM show was Mark Slaughter and Bobby Rock. And I go up to both of them and I go with the tape, I go, "You want to explain this to me?" And I get from both of them, "Hey, wasn't our call. We had nothing to do with this." I said, "You played on it." I said, "Mark, you knew this song." I said, "You sang on our tracking vocals on our demo. You knew what this song was." He goes, "It was all Dana and Vinny. They had they said do it, and we just did it." I said, "So just like that, put a gun in your head and go, record it or else."
Right.
Not like that, but I said, and Bobby was like, I'm sorry. They were apologetic, but the damage was already done.
Yeah.
So I called up Chrysalis Records. I said, "I want to talk to somebody about this." I said, "Your boy there, Mr. Wig, just stole my song. In addition to my whole look. But, he just completely stole my stage image." I said, "This guy stole my song. Now, what are you going to do about it?" They had no idea.
Right.
People at Chrysalis Records, they didn't know. They just said, "Well, it was a great song. Sounds great. It's on the album." I said, "Well, this is where it came from," and I explained it. I said, "Dana was our producer. I walked into the studio and he's playing the song for Vinny. They said they'd like to re-record it. Is this their version of how I re-record it? And I wasn't involved. And then so we hang up, and about 20 minutes after that conversation with Chrysalis Records, Dana Strum calls me up. He goes, listen, Foxmeyer, you try and sue us, and we'll take you to court, and we'll bleed you dry, and we'll countersue you for being an asshole. He goes, you can't get us for the hook. You can't copyright a hook. I said, tell that to George Harrison. He lost my Sweet Lord because it came from the Siobhans. He's so fine. I said, Zeppelin got sued for the Heartbreak, the Lemon Song, all the stuff they stole from the black blues artists.
Yeah.
Said it wasn't really widely publicized, but they got taken to court and they lost. They had to put, they had to do corrections on the records and pay royalties. Don't tell me you can't copyright a hook. And he goes, yeah, well, I talked to Carmine Appice about it. Carmine says, just give him $1,000. Tell him shut the fuck up. I'm like, why are you discussing this with Carmine?
Yeah.
I said, we had your trust as a producer. You betrayed that trust. You took my song. You handed it over to that idiot. And nothing happened out of it. I don't know why I didn't go to the attorney that I went to when I had with my first lineup of Sin in LA. Mm-hmm. When I left the band, well, they said I got fired. I left the band. I walked out of the recording session. The band that was, as I told you earlier in the conversation, did not originally want to keep or use the name Sin. Now they didn't want to surrender it. They wanted now the name was established. They wanted to hold on to it.
Yeah.
Which led to a battle in print in LA in the clubs of Sin versus Rik Fox's Sin. And I was introduced to a Beverly Hills, West LA attorney. He was the attorney for Dio and Sabbath, a guy named Stan Diamond. Why I didn't go to him again, I don't remember. But this was like an open and shut case. I would have nailed the coffin on Vinnie Vincent on this.
Yeah.
And wasn't long after that, their album sales tanked. It was terrible. That second album went nowhere. So that's kind of like a little bit of karma. But because my publicist was involved with Vinnie Vincent's band, he had to go to bankruptcy court. He got kicked out of his own band. Chrysalis took his contract away and gave it to Mark Slaughter, and that's how Slaughter was born.
Yep.
And like that, so I sat in on Vinnie Vincent's bankruptcy hearings, and when they were reading off the list of all the debtors that Vinnie owed money to, and it's like the Kiss Army, the fans, all these people that he took money from all these people, and my name came up on the list, and it said Rik Fox, and judge goes, "What's this about?" And Vinnie looks up at me, and he leans over to his attorney's ear, and he's whispering in his attorney's ear. And the attorney said, Your Honor, we'd prefer to speak to you about that in judge's chambers. So it wasn't even, nothing was said in front of me.
Right.
So I got nothing out of that. It was just the satisfaction of watching him, and watching Vinnie tank. So, Dana, of course, went on now and did other things. I guess now he's the bass player in Vince Neil's band, and he handles some of the band business, like as Slaughter, like that. And if Dana wasn't such a shark, was just slime bag, it'd be nice to, because the guy knows a lot about the business.
Oh yeah,
his stories are like incredibly funny, and he got some great road stories. But if it wasn't for what he did to us, then I have no love lost for this guy. And I've bumped in other people who feel the same way about him. And I've had fans go to Slaughter shows and they go, "Hey, Dana, hey, Dana, hey, Dana." Dana's like, "Hey, this is pretty cool." And they go, "So what about On the Run?" And then they said, Dana immediately gets that look on his face. He goes like that. And he just storms off. It's haunting him. It's a thorn in his ass, in his side. And he knows what he did, and it's going to follow him the rest of his days. So,
how many other people did he possibly do that to? You never know.
well, there was a whole stable of bands besides us that he was working with. Uh, um, Hellion turned into Burn, and just without Anne Boleyn.
Okay.
So I auditioned for Burn after Sin broke up, and I got the gig with Burn. And but right before that, Dana did a demo session with them. Their demo tape's sitting right over here on my shelf. I still have it. So he worked with Burn. He worked with Sweet Savage from Texas, who are friends of mine. I think it was a band called Rated X. There was a whole stable of bands. And I'm thinking, well, if he stole one of my songs, gee, is it possible he could have been data mining other bands for their material too?
Of course.
If he heard something, he'd borrow this, that, and the other and use it. I don't know. So
you never know.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't know the Vinnie Vincent story. And before Bobby's book came out, Bobby Rock's book, my name had come up on several Vinnie Vincent chat boards, and Rik Fox claims that Vinnie Vincent stole one of his songs. Ha 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 ha! Fucking loser, Rik Fox. Who is Rik Fox that Vinnie needs to take material from him? He's nobody. Who the hell is Rik Fox? Good question. A lot of people live under a rock. I don't know, but this is not the first occurrence, because before Vinnie came to California, he was playing with some of the guys from the band New England, with Hirsch Gardner and Gary Shea, and they had a band called Warrior.
Okay.
Not knowing that there already was in LA a band called Warrior that put out an album. This was their project, and apparently what happened was the songs that Vinnie worked on with these guys, he absconded and took off. And it was such a legal nuclear thing that when the Vinnie Vincent invasion started to go on tour, Hirsch had an injunction.
Six. And here he comes again. 6.
That's 6. 6 times.
Unbelievable.
Unfreaking believable. Hirsch Gardner had a legal injunction against Vinnie Vincent, a.k.a. Vincent Cusano, for the material that they recorded. Now your picture is frozen on screen with you doing this. And when they hit the Boston area, which is where their New England band was from, they were opening for Iron Maiden. And all of Vinnie's gear had pink paint on it. Vincent Invasion. Anything that had VVI on it in pink. And the cops were waiting. And they confiscated all of the gear that said Vinnie Vincent Invasion on it right before showtime. And they had to scramble to any music stores they could find that might still be open to just rent some gear so they could honor their contractual obligation and open the show for Maiden. And Hirsch confiscated all their gear. This is the stuff that follows things that Vinnie Vincent does. And Vinnie was going to, of course, about a year or so ago, come back out again. He has all of these carrot on a stick, tease you. I'm coming back out again. I'm coming back out. And then gets the promoter, and he gets all this money up front, and he disappears.
Yeah.
It's just like one of the biggest scams in rock and roll. Besides Blackie Lawless trying to say I wasn't in W.A.S.P. So Vinny's like pulling these pop up, and then run with the money type things.
He's got a piece popping up here in Nashville next month.
Yeah, and he was going to get together with Carmine Appice and Tony Franklin, and they were going to bring in a guy that one album I recorded on, a guy named Jim Crane, and Carmine was going to bring Crane in because Jim Crane is the lead singer for Carmine and Vinny's drum wars.
Okay,
like that. So, and I had recorded 2 tracks on Jim Crane's album, London Fog. Okay. And of course, Carmine's on that. Vinny, I recorded with Vinny Appice and Frank Domino. So, which is a nice feather in my cap. But Crane was going to come in as the singer. Vinny's like, "Who the hell is Jim Crane? I want known people." like that. And Carmine vouched. He said, no, Jim's a good guy, and like that. And Tony Franklin was going to play bass, and like that. And all of a sudden, Vinny just like and backed out and vaporized. And now Carmine is talking live, going, "Oh, Vinny's a flake. He was a flake then. He's a flake now." People want to give the guy a chance, and he keeps proving how much of an idiot and a flake he is. And nobody wants to have anything to do with him.
Yeah.
And nobody talked about it back in the day. Nobody wanted to talk shade or shit or something about behind somebody's back. Now, who cares? It's all out in the open. Everybody's dirty laundry is out there.
Absolutely.
One way or another.
So, all right. So we just hit the 2-hour mark. Let's do a part 4 now.
Okay. Let's try and get 6 into 4.
Let's do a part 4 because we still got more to talk about, and then I want to recap stuff, and I want to talk about what you're doing now and everything.
Okie dokie. I don't know what it is with the interruptions. I don't know if it's satellites or weather or what, but that was 6 times we got cut off.
Yeah, that's the first time that's happened.
I had to reload 6 times.
But well, Rik, thank you for doing it. This is like such interesting stuff, and it's amazing story you got.
I thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. I mean, how many people did we have coming into the show today?
Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I'm getting tired of hearing my story. I don't know.
Well, you know what? But the story is all being documented, and it's there, and I'm hearing it, and I'm enjoying it, and it's interesting to me because I mean, as I said to you when we first started this, you're somebody who I always knew of for many years, and would see and always be like, all right, what Rik Fox, here's this dude, what's he doing? And then so now I'm hearing the real behind the scenes of what was going on. So it's very interesting to me, and I'm sure there's other people out there like me.
That's kind of like the approach that I got from Jim Crane, because he contacted me out of the clear blue sky. I didn't have no idea who this guy was, never heard of him, and he says, "Yeah, I know you were in Steeler," and he goes, at that junction, he goes, "I keep seeing you getting beat up in Facebook. All these assholes, saying crap about you and attacking you." And he goes, I'd like to see, I could help if I can. And let's upgrade your street cred a little bit. And I'll have you on my album. And, all these big names, these A-list monster players are on there, Rudy Sarzo, Tony Franklin, Carmine, Vinny. He goes, I'll have you on there and you'll play with Vinny and Frank Domino. And that'll up your street cred, and this bickering about you will stop. I said, maybe in some other part of the world, but not in California. In California, they don't give a rat's ass who you played with. If they don't like you or they got some personal grudge or an axe to grind, they don't care what you've done.
Yeah, but you know what? You're not in California no more. Doesn't matter. And most of them people aren't in California anymore either.
Yeah, I said, thank you for trying. And I recorded the title track for the album. That's the single, I should say, Broken, on the London Fog album, which was great. And I did my best aspiration to Bob Daisley as I could. And I hope I honor him by that. And then we did an Angel cover, Don't Take Your Love, I believe it was. And so, like that. And Steph Hahn played on it, guitar and keyboards, Frank Domino, and like I said, Vinny Appice, we played on it. Not together in the same room. It was all files. Like that's how everybody did it. So, and that's what I did on Crean's album. That was kind of the same format. It was, let's try and elevate your status a little bit because, you have musically, maybe, I don't know what you've done in recent, but let's add some stuff to your resume. And that was great. And I did it. The bass could have been a little louder in the mix, but, I got some stuff on my resume like that. And I just recently did a title track with Ed Gage, who's an entertainer, guitarist, and actor out in L.A. Before I left L.A. And I wrote the title cut to his Moth to the Flame, his EP he just put out. We sat together and knocked that out in one night. We co-wrote, and then that's just kind of the stuff I'm doing, until I have to get back off the road. So yeah, we'll do a part 4.
swallowed wrong.
It's that dry air.
That's what it is. So yeah, all right, let's do a part 4. And we'll wrap it up on part 4 without me choking.
If such a thing is possible. You get a really big ribbon to wrap it up.
Yeah, right? But yeah, Rik, thank you for doing this. And we'll set up part 4 and we'll continue on. And we'll get up to date from there and what you're doing now and everything you're involved in.
All right, Bay. I appreciate you having me on as always. And technicalities aside, it's always fun.
Absolutely, I'm enjoying it.
What was that line Mickey Rooney used in the film Ambush Bay? We hope you enjoyed the game. We enjoyed it. How did he say it? We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Rik, thank you. And now we don't have to worry about part 7 of you falling off. So there we go.
Let's cut this before they cut us again.
There you go. Take care, Rik.
All right. Thanks.